We're adjusting the audio, getting set to go here, and I thought we'd give you a quick update. As some of you know, we started our testing last night. Everyone hearing us all right? Okay, good.
Okay.
Good, good. Well, we started our testing last night. I just wanted to start out the show by giving you guys a real quick update. You may have been, as Sonia kind of informed everyone, we got a bunch of people in there last night, about 30 people, and it started to bog down, and that was due to the facility we were in. We thought we could get away with actually leaving the server at our old facility for another week or so while we did some testing, but it quickly became apparent that people were being disconnected and things because we were maxing out the bandwidth, and it wasn't very good bandwidth to begin with. So we quickly decided to go to our new facility where we're building our new servers, and basically had our servers moved last night. So we cut the test a little bit short, and now they're up and running, and we're testing again. The bandwidth is amazing on our new server, and it's really well. So yeah, we got a lot of disconnects last night, and people were kind of saying that those were crashes, but really what it was is our bandwidth was pegged, and when that happens, we drop connections. So we really weren't crashing, but there were a lot of disconnects due to the bandwidth. And
yeah, the new bandwidth's about 200 times what we had previously, so just to kind of give you an idea. So a lot of the crash to desktops that we were getting feedback on was due to bandwidth issues, not actually engine issues. So hopefully that's been remedied. We haven't had any issues this morning since we've had that up, and we've actually already started getting feedback and looked at the changes that you guys are submitting to implement and adjust the things that that you guys have already found. So we appreciate that. So
another quick item on the beta testing. Those of you who've been in it and those of you who have heard a little bit about it will know that. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks. So you threw me off my game there. So basically, the beta testing, you'll notice that those of you who are in the beta, we're starting off really slow. There's one area, and we've kind of limited the abilities and things you could do. There's a lot of small glitches and things to sort out, and we really thank you all for helping us sort those out. But just things, some few animation issues, and there was a bunch of things that were basically that we wanted to sort out with the beta test before we open it up to more extensive testing. So you'll know that this is a true testing type atmosphere. You guys are really putting in the time to help us sort things out and make it a really great game. So that's what we like, and we wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Cool. So to kind of get going with our normal thing, we wanted to go ahead and start off, give you a quick update. Go into our trivia, which we've kind of made a habit of, and so this week I think you'll find it purposely obnoxious, and then we'll get on to your questions.
So here we go. So we'll turn it over to the actual trivia questions here.
All right. So first question.
No, we got the rules here.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course.
So once again, this is our obnoxiously hard video game trivia from games we've played and loved. So, and we got to warn you, they're pretty hard if you haven't played these games.
All right, so starting off.
The rules, those of you who don't know the rules. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, in all honesty, I wasn't really going to go over the rules just because the people that have been there, somebody gets out of line, just keep them in check. But basically, you're only going to win one shirt. Appreciate you trying, and you got to get all the questions right for the multiple parters, and whoever gets all of them correct is the winner, and Sonia will keep track of those.
Yep, so make sure you contact Sonia after the trivia so you can get your shirt. Okay, let's go.
Question 1. Wolfenstein 3D. So obviously there's a technical error where we gave you the first answer. So whoever can get the B and C questions, Wolfenstein 3D, what was the name of the character that you played? And then the original Castle Wolfenstein, the 2D, what was it was developed by Muse. What was the name of the computer that it was originally made for? So basically B and C is what you guys are looking to answer.
Yeah, I played it on the C64 as well, Crocker.
All right, so we got Blazkowicz and Apple II right there.
Mr. Longhair.
Nice.
Good deal. So we have a winner on that one.
Okay. All right. Question 2. This one is obnoxious, and I'll put that disclaimer up there right now.
This one's ridiculous.
Go ahead and put this one up, Drew. What game what game did this group develop?
And it wasn't Ghostbusters.
No. Oh yeah. Thanks, Deadly. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I'll give you another hint.
Do you need a hint?
All right. Go ahead and hit once. All right. It used this. It was in the mid-'80s. You're going down the right track. You got to be old to know this one. Starflight.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Very
someone
good.
actually got it.
Very good. All right. Nice job.
Giz for the win. Nice one. Now, mine aren't nearly that obnoxious.
Yeah, if you go back and, well, actually, if you rewatch, there's some pretty cool mustaches in that one that you don't see nowadays. So I'm with you on Frag.
Yeah, that's cool. So mine aren't nearly that obnoxious. I tried to make them within the realm of possibility. So we'll start off with one click. Okay. So what was the very first basketball game that EA made? Who were the 2 stars in that game? And what was the only offensive move you could do other than shooting? Nice. We got Dr. J versus Larry Bird. Those are the 2 stars. That technically wasn't the name of the game, though, Raven. And dunking wasn't the move. That is just another form of shooting, which was the only other thing you could do. NCAA basketball 09? No. Jostle's close on the year, though, for sure.
Yeah, at least I gave you a hint there.
I played it on the Commodore 64 religiously. Well, are we going to have to give it to Raven for knowing the 2 players?
Oh, he got spin move, too.
Yeah, the spin. Yep, we got a spin. Yep. So Raven got 2 of them. So what was the official name of the game, Raven? Well, there's another part to that, Raven. I'm really glad to see some other ones played it.
Man, you guys are nerds.
Oh,
there you go.
Craw. Yep.
1-on-1.
1-on-1. So I don't know how to sort that one out. I guess we'll let Sonya sort that one out because really Raven was the one who got 2 out of the 3.
All right.
So I'll get the next 3 here. And spin move. So it was technically called 1-on-1 Larry Bird versus Dr. J. So pretty cool. Awesome. We'll have to hook both those guys up. Good. So last question. We're going to go ahead and move on. And this one's a little easier. What fantasy PC game placed you as Mortimer's apprentice wandering through a labyrinth? Some of you guys got to get this. Last question of the day.
There you go.
Yay! Did you actually play it, Sick? Or are you just guessing? It is the Immortal, so very good. Nice. That was a fun game. Pretty cool. Countless ways to die in that game. Pretty fun. Nice. Well, good job to the winners.
All right.
And congratulations.
So what we'll go ahead and go through is we got some questions, and you've all been nice enough to be on the forums, chat, and kind of really work and develop that community. So there's some questions posed. We wanted to go down some of the questions and start that off. And then as you have questions that come up through the chat or through the stream, we'll go ahead and answer those and move forward.
Good. So
go ahead and start.
Yeah, so a couple questions. These are straight from the forums. We'll get through some of these first. Someone asked if there's any swimming in the game. And yes, there is swimming. So what we tried to create is a open world where you could go anywhere or do anything. We didn't want to have it where you saw a mountain over in the distance and couldn't walk over there and actually climb the mountain. So basically, if you see a lake, you can jump in it and swim. It is pretty extensive at this point.
All right. Another question about world bosses. Are they static or do they move? And the answer is both. So you'll have some that'll be in a fixed location. You also have some that patrol.
Yep. Cool question on lava. Is lava instant kill or periodic damage? First of all, let me poll you guys first. What do you guys prefer, instant kill or periodic damage lava? Before I tell you how it is.
Man, hardcore.
Now I've got a few of both.
All right.
Well, right now it's instantaneous. So you land on lava. John and I thought it was more fun because you have the jetpack, so you have to land on places where there isn't lava. So we thought it was more fun that if you messed up, you paid the ultimate penalty. So it is instant death.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a question about listing all the minerals as we get in and give you more information on the professions. You'll get all those, and we'll get those out to you so you can see those. Not going to go through all of them today, but a lot of them are largely what are out there in the real world as far as minerals, and then there's also ones that are specific to the game. So when we get you more information on the professions, we'll get you all those as well.
And says, is there, let me see. Another question is, will bases have domes or something to prevent a swarm of jetpacks from just rushing it? And currently, the bases have pretty extensive defenses, but they're in the form of turrets. Mm-hmm. So you'll get shot down pretty quickly in the form of turret if you put the turrets on there, and they're pretty deadly. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple other things that provide defense to be a little more cryptic, but there isn't a force field type thing if that's what you're wondering.
Mm-hmm. Right now, minerals, there's between 50 to 70 currently that are being tested. So that may expand, but right now it's in that kind of range between 50 to 70 different ones.
And we can't name them all right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Some of them are unique to our game only, actually. So.
True.
So good. Is there drinking in game? I.e., can I fly drunk? So
what you do at home at your computer is entirely up to you, and if that's what you choose to do, okay. But
I think you've been playing too many fantasy MMOs. You know, you're used to going down to Ye Old Tankard and having a nail. No, we're right now we don't have that. We do have different places, gathering places for players that are social, so to speak, in the game, but we don't have drinking implemented. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do that if you guys want it enough. You can tell us.
Right. There's another question about mailboxes. There won't be one every 10 feet. So you'll have to go to a specific location to get your items.
But as far as just the pure messaging capacity of the mailboxes, you have that in your PDA.
Right.
So you can send your friend, if your friend's offline, just send him a message. When he gets his PDA has the messaging. So
right.
That's built for that. Let me see here. Can helmets be toggled? Not at the moment, but that will be a feature when we launch, yes. We want to be able to select if you see your face or helmet. Some of the faces are pretty cool, so we'll leave that out. Mm-hmm. The last one?
Let's see.
Any more?
Did you already talk about line of sight?
No.
There's a question about the maximum line of sight. There is a maximum line of sight. It's quite far. But ultimately what we want, and you'll see as we get more abilities into the game and you're testing them, is the abilities will have various ranges. And so there will be some classes, i.e. the range classes, that can engage at a longer distance. The line of sight for everyone will be fixed as far as when you can see them. And right now it's pretty far. I don't really have a term that would make sense because our game units are a little different than other games. But it's quite far as visible. When something's very tiny on the screen, you'll be able to still see it. So it's pretty awesome.
XS asks, how is it going with the guild pages and signups? So I'm really glad you asked that, XS, because today we kind of wanted to announce it was going to be live. And I know our web developer is actually watching this, so I want him to be able to see this when we talk to you guys and announce it, you know. It's going very good. It's almost done. We're very close. No, I said I wanted to. We didn't do that, obviously. But I want the web developer to see that we really want this to be done, and he knows that as well already.
Right.
But I would say early next week, it should be done. I mean, it's very close right now. We were trying to get it all knocked out for today, but we'd rather test it and make sure it was working right instead of put it out there with a lot of bugs. So it's very close.
Let's see. There was a question. Whatever happened to PBG1? I don't know. We basically killed him off and told him never to come back.
We've actually been in the beta. My guy's name's Gamala, and he's Target. Like, appropriate name for John, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we've been wandering around in there a little bit. We just haven't put the tabs on, so we're kind of walking in there.
Right. And so ultimately, what we're looking at now is when you get in with the type of responsive system, the combat system we want to have for you. That's one of the main reasons, literally between yesterday to today, we went and said, hey, we need to make certain that the connection speed that everybody's logging into our game and testing it is not an issue. And so now we've basically taken that out of the equation so that for our system designed to be fairly responsive, it's not something to the extent to where you've got an auto attack. So because of that, it's got to be quite responsive. So we mitigated that, and ideally as we move forward, we'll be able to test all these things. So we'll be in there looking, playing. Those old characters are still there. He was PBG1, I was PBG4, for those of you that were in the early testing. And at the end of the day, we're going to be releasing more and more abilities so that you guys can test these and all the things we've talked about today.
So good. And XS says, any estimate when you're going to let more people from the alpha in? And I love to answer questions that Sonia's trying to answer frantically in the chat. but the actual answer to that, we anticipate this first group of about 100 or so that's going to be in there for about a week or so. And then after that, next week, we'll probably end up taking the server down for just a little while to do some fixes on it. And then after that, we'll do another phase 2, just what Sanda's indicating. So.
Right. Deadly had a question about how long you can fly with the jetpack, and that'll vary. So the jetpacks that are crafted, you'll be able to, the low-level ones won't fly as far, won't last as long. The higher-level ones will fly farther at a greater speed. So that'll vary. And then also the consumption and how much energy they consume will vary.
Yep, good. So let's go ahead and open it up and specifically target. Maybe are there questions about beta you guys want to know, or what we're doing aside from when we're going to let people in? Maybe we can start out that way, and if there's anything you want to know about that, we could answer those questions and go there. Anything specific?
The Craw asked about a shooting mechanic that basically it's once you target the person, when you're executing that ability, so say it's a quick shot or something like that, every time you press it, it's designed so that it's a lower damaging shot, but you can use it repetitively. And then you'll have the other abilities that'll have it like a fixed cooldown or something that when that's up, you can use it right away. But basically, as you're pressing the ability, it's happening.
Okay. And Ham Fist of Fury, what will Phase 2 be focusing on? Well, we're pretty encouraged by Phase 1, actually. There are the typical glitches and things, some animation issues to work out, but there's nothing that's really troublesome. like John said, the most troublesome thing was the disconnects, and I think we've pretty much solved that. So that's pretty encouraging as well. So phase 2, we're going to debug for the next several days, and phase 2 we want to kind of start it out. You guys noticed that are in the beta, we started out with armor, we gave you a few guns, it's just pretty much shooting, and you're limited on your abilities and skills. Phase 2, we want to start you out kind of at the beginning of the level, so to speak. You'll have a more extensive areas to go through. You start out in Gathazad, one of the main cities, and be able to go through many of the levels, and start out pretty much without the armor and have to kill NPCs and do things like that, and actually have more of a normal progression. The things that will probably be turned off since we're progressing will be the missions and things like that. It'll be more of a progressive thing. That'll probably be phase 3 or 4.
Right. It looks like they got a question for you, Sonia.
Yeah, Sonia had this rogue beta contest that we didn't know about. How many people are you going to let in, Sonia? Huh?
At least one.
At least one.
Wow.
I wouldn't let her get away with that.
Generous.
That's ridiculous.
Let's see. There is testing from. There are people actually that are in from outside the U.S. There actually were even some in yesterday. Question was, are we letting people in from outside? So
yeah. One of the highest amount of feedback was from someone in the UK actually yesterday.
So, and ultimately, the cool thing about the server I alluded to and the bandwidth that we have now and all that is it's allowing, we've tested pings all around the world by and large, and most of them that we're testing are under 200. So it's something that even from long distances, we're getting really, really good pings with the new location. So that's something that we want to keep in mind. So if we have people that are good testers, giving us good feedback, and that's really what's important, is the feedback that you give us is concise and helps us address a problem so we can make a better game for you, for us, for everybody. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions on amount of people on the server. We're trying to scale it up, obviously, but this isn't a stress test, guys. This is more gameplay, and I know we're talking about combat pretty much in the first phase, but not that we're worried about that. We like it. It's fun and everything like that. I think it's going great. I'm pretty impressed with the things the engineers have been able to accomplish. But we feel pretty good about the other parts of the game that you guys are going to be able to experience in the game, the crafting, the things you guys we've kind of released to you guys. Of course, those will need to be tested, but we're trying to test the things. Of course, the whole PvP game, we got to make sure that it feels responsive and plays really well. So in the next phase as well, and probably in this one, we're going to actually try different ways of targeting and things like that will make it feel really good. So, and we'll listen to you guys and see what you guys like. But the stress test will come nearer probably a month and a half, 2 months. We'll probably get a lot of people in there for that. But we're just trying to get the game mechanics down, namely the combat.
There's a question about bases, and are they in set locations? They are in set locations. So it'll be a fixed area where the bases come down, and what you want to put there will be up to you, but it will be in a set location on a map.
Hilo said, will living in Phoenix help with my connection? We actually have the best connection we've seen has actually been from LA, so I don't know what that says about our location. It's 5, what is it, milliseconds, the pings or something like that? 5 milliseconds, ridiculous. But I will say pretty much anywhere US is pretty good. We have under 170 milliseconds from all around the world. So not to brag or anything, but the facility we're using is world class, and the gear that we have there is world class as well. So you guys, we're anxious to hear what you guys are finding.
Let's see. There won't be any siege engines. There was a question, are we going to have siege engines? Because we won't have castles, just like we won't have elves. As far as different types of vehicles, there are things in development, but as of right now, there is nothing that would act in that capacity.
Good. Let me see.
There's a question about our stance on server transfers. Personally, I don't like them, and as a designer and actually as a gamer, if you have a server transfer where you are moving from one server to the next because you started with friends and maybe you got split, that's one thing. So we will allow them. Whether they'll be free or not, we haven't disclosed that. There probably will be some sort of charge associated with that, just so we don't have griefing and people basically creating a bad name for themselves and transferring to different servers at will. So we're looking at that. There's all different types of things, but we want to make certain that you know, if you're able to just pop from one server to the next, then it's detrimental to the various communities. So there may be a mechanic. Most likely will have a fee attached to it, but that's still in the works.
Technically speaking, right now, with 3 production servers that we're starting with now, we anticipate a lot more, and all that John said will totally apply to that. But if you want to just get down to the nuts and bolts of it, you're faction restricted per server. Mm-hmm. So if you create a faction on each server, you go with the faction, you wouldn't be able to transfer it to the other server because you'd have other existing characters on the other ones that were of a different faction. So you'd be restricted anyhow until we add more servers, which we anticipate doing. So
right.
Zotrope said, can you claim a base without destroying it? Good question. No, you can't, because it wouldn't be your base. It's another faction's base. And that's a good question too, because all of the bases of each faction are totally, you can run up on them, you can see them from a distance and know whose base that is, because they're all the buildings are different. You know, you can totally tell whose is. So you have to destroy the buildings that are there before you can put yours on.
Let's see.
Yeah, there's not just one type of base for everything. They look exactly like what you'd expect a Salient or a Rodon or a human base to look like. Right. All the buildings, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. There's a question about will there be bonuses for underdog races. Right now, there are no plans for that. That's something that we want to look at. The hope is that if you've played a 3-faction game before, there will tend to be one, if there is an imbalance, one that's greater and 2 that are smaller. The hope with that system is that you have the 2 that are smaller that would act together. I mean, I remember from playing a specific 3-faction game that you could go out to a given area, you could have more people there, and the other 2, without necessarily communicating, and they may be on Ven or TeamSpeak, could be fighting each other, but then suddenly they turn against you because you have the larger force. So that 3-faction thing is a nice dynamic that allows for that, but we'll take a look at things if we need to adjust them.
And Draknor says, how many people do we need to build up a base, and how long does it take? That's a really good question, and you only need 1. It's cool. I mean, you can really affect the game a lot by claiming bases or destroying them. I mean, the only thing I will qualify that, though, Draknor, is good luck defending it, though. You can build it up, and once people catch wind that you're over there building base, if you don't have someone to help you defend it, you know, good luck trying to defend it. Hope you're really fast. And there is a one-man army, 064. You better be really good. And also, you know, it depends. There's some strategy to it as well, in the order that you pull them down and things like that. But another thing that he kind of points out is how long does it take? There is a time associated with it. And so they don't come down just immediately. So your base is being built. And we are toying with the mechanic that will speed it up right now. So if you want to kind of dedicate some of your materials to it, it could help speed it up quicker, but there is a standard time associated with it. So, and that's not the time difference right now isn't in the game. It's just a standard time.
Right. Pedro had a question about the resist mechanics. So currently there's a few resist mechanics, or not necessarily resist, but there's a few types of mitigation in the game. There's a reduction that you'll receive from armor. There's dodge and deflect. And then there are actually armor or damage type resist. These are all currently being tested. What will actually finally make it is still for discussion and decision. But right now there are several different types of resist and or mitigation of damage in combat.
Okay, good. And okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Oh, we're asking. the immunities for crowd control and diminishing returns. We do. I think we mentioned this before. I'll mention it again since Jiz keeps asking it. But the immunities are basically based on abilities. There are several abilities that you can spec into, so to speak, that will give you immunities that you can fire off and give you a timed immunity. There's nothing that gives you a permanent immunity, obviously, from it, but that is something that is strategic, you know. And there's also abilities that allow you to break the crowd control things.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. There's a question about how do we plan to deal with gold spammers. We don't plan to have gold, except it is a mineral. But no, that's something that any MMO is going to have to deal with. So we actually do have some contingencies in place to address that. So I won't say that it'll be devoid of it, but largely we'll have systems in place that the community, in addition to the CSRs that'll be monitoring, will help us out with those things.
Cool. And then, yeah. Okay.
Let's see. I think that's. As far as there's a
heals.
Was it? No, go ahead.
MMO Unforgiven. Oh, MMO Unforgiven asked about heals going to be single target, group only, or raid wide, etc. And that's one of the things. It's going to depend on how many skill points you allocate to your abilities to heal. All the heals begin as single target. And it's funny, but I'll mention this because we didn't turn off the mechanic. We're only testing the Rodon faction. So everyone, Rodon is friends, right? Well, in the beta, we're actually turned off the mechanic so they could attack each other, but we didn't change the heal mechanic. So people were attacking each other, they still are, where they can actually hit the heal button and it heals the person they're attacking. So it's single target. You won't be able to do that in the normal game, obviously, because you can only heal your faction. So basically, as your ability grows and you add more points to it, usually the heals become group wide, so you can heal your party and do that. So we've had a lot of interesting people that are trying to kill people that actually heal. But really, right now in beta, like I can't stress this enough, we're more worried about the mechanics of things working, you know, and just working correctly and feeling correct. So, you know, whether you're healing your own faction or not, or who you're attacking, that's really beside the point. But
yeah, which actually I had a long discussion with one of the programmers yesterday, because I normally will play a healer, and so it was somewhat unsettling to be healing the guy I'm trying to kill. So. But once we get it, so all the factions in there, you're playing all of them, you'll have the single and group and things like that. So.
Yep. Are stat buff abilities in the game now, and do they have an unlimited range? And yes, we do have the stat buff abilities, although I don't think we put any of them into the beta. I don't think there's
they
any
aren't
there right
in the
now.
beta, and the range won't be unlimited. Once you have it placed on you, it will persist with your guy. But there is a range at which you need to be able to receive it.
Yep. And one of the things we found actually from the beta too is that the targets aren't dropping off from a very long range. So if you target someone, they could go really far across the map, and you can still have them targeted. So that will obviously be limited as well to a certain range. Drop off. Visual sight actually goes pretty far, so it'll probably be somewhere within the visual distance of that player before they drop off as a target.
Yeah. There's a question about tab targeting and its value, whether good or bad, depending on if you like it or not. A lot of MMOs that have been developed in the past 6 to 7 years have gone to that, so that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. So to break that and not have it can be somewhat detrimental for people trying to try this game out. But that's something we look at. We don't want it to be just an easy spam, go through the game. So we're looking at all these things. But our thoughts are, depending on the game, it works. Some games it doesn't work for. But it's something that we're definitely looking at, just because it's a convention that's become standardized in a lot of MMOs.
Okay, good. Morn said, can you tell what class other people are by clicking on them, or do you have to make an educated guess based on what abilities they're using? Right now, you have to make an educated guess based on what abilities they're using. But I will tell you that there's a lot of variance between the classes in armor and in the way their models look. So you're usually pretty close, anyway, within one or two of the classes by just the way they look, most of the time.
Right, and I'd say if for those testers that are in, if you look and once you get in, put all your gear on, like Warren's saying, you should be able to very easily tell one from another. And then as you get used to the different classes over time, like a Devastator versus a Berserker, you'll see the subtle differences between them. One is trying to shoot you and one is trying to come at you and beat you down. But ultimately, we wanted to design it so they look like a homogeneous group, but you could look at them and say, oh, that's one of the things. Actually, when we looked at and designed the game, a lot of MMOs, it's hard to tell what anybody is because they all look the same. So whether you're a warrior or a paladin or some kind of knight or something, you all have plate armor, and it's really hard to tell the difference. With ours, we wanted you to be able to do just that, look at them and get a really good idea of what they are before you even click on them.
But I guess we could have given you the three-word answer or whatever by saying there's no name that says that. There's no name that says that. So, yeah, you have to kind of know by playing, I guess. But you'll learn. I'm sure you'll learn.
Let's see.
Good.
There's some questions about the different abilities that the names per se may not be necessarily be what you would allude. So, i.e., there's a question about analyze enemy and will it give you health and level?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't do that. It does something different.
Does something different.
But you'll like what it does.
Yeah, it's cool.
So.
Yeah, the one thing that you guys are talking about, the looks of the Rodon, even for the beta testers, right now you can change their heads and their colors and things like that. You can get a pretty good variety that way, but right now they're working up different horns and things like that they'll give them a lot more, even further physical variance. So there's a few options that aren't in the beta right now. So. Prime to you says, will deposits of prime rotate in abundance in areas? And is there any way to know where the biggest abundances are? They are not static, prime to you. They are generated. They do deplete, and they replenish over time, maybe not with the same thing. And there is a way to know where the biggest abundances are. It's called a harvest scan. You have to scan, and that's the way to know where they are, so you can find out where the biggest abundances are. But they do not it's not the same thing at all every time.
Yeah. A few factions. Will factions be able to talk to each other? No. There's also a question about abilities and scaling up with points, or is there some natural improvement? The abilities in your stats as your character progresses will improve based upon your stats going up. So all your abilities and whether they damage or heal or whatnot are derived off of your primary stats. So those will increase as you level, so by default your abilities will. But in addition, if you do put points in, you'll get more out of that ability as well.
Okay. Estimate on when we'll be able to see how the Salient look in game. So much mass. So that's really what we're working on hard right now. The Salient are so different than the other guys that they have unique armor. That's kind of what we've been working on, how they equip their armor and things like that. So we didn't want to. You've seen them in some of the screenshots without any armor on, so you've seen them that way. So they are running around the game, so to speak, but we're kind of wanting them to work right with the armor and there's a few other abilities they have that are cool, that are unique to their class, that have to do with their form and the way they look on screen. So we've been messing with that. And so I would say an estimate, probably within a week or two, we'll probably have some in-game shots for you and try and get some videos and things for you. But that's the next thing up.
There's a question about the professions and specific benefits like BOP or bind on pickup or something of that nature. The majority of the trade skills where you're actually crafting something in the profession will not be bind on pickup, but there are some, i.e. soldier for hire, which would have access to gear in the black market that others may not. So there are some, but by and large, most of the profession items will be available to all.
Okay. And then, okay. Okay. Are professions, Prime to You says, are professions restricted to certain classes? No, they are not. You choose what you want to do, and you can only, as you guys know, you can only take one to the fullest extent, so you can choose whichever one you want and make that your prime profession, so to speak.
Yep. Let's see. There's a question about how will dots work, and will there be cleanses. There will be a purge type ability, and dots will work just like most dots. More dots. Most dots work, so it'll just be a damage over time. The amount of time and the damage it does will vary. So.
Okay. How will the profession items differ? So Zarian said, how will the profession items differ from PvE or PvE loot? Previous other games have made promises of equal quality through the 3 categories, but how about Prime? So profession items, we've already stated that profession items are the best items in the game at the varying skill point levels. We kind of make that a point. The PvE items are really good as well, so it depends on what you do. It's the more challenging the PvE is, the better it is, but still the PvP items that are crafted will usually trump that.
Yeah, and ideally, I mean, I guess here's one way to think about it. Most games will design them as separate. So PvE's over here, and crafted stuff's over there, and then PvP stuff's over there. Well, we're not. So everything's homogeneous together with the idea that professions are the top. So that's kind of the bar.
Yeah.
Now, it's possible, based on your skill or crafting or whatnot, you could find something at a given level that's PvE that may be better than someone that has crafted something base. But ultimately, if somebody's improving their skill and their skill's high enough, they'll be able to make the best items at a given level.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a really good point that we really didn't separate them into 2 different classes. Armor is the armor in the game, and another thing too that we can mention is that there aren't like arena rewards of like ungodly armor for playing arena or things like that. It's not intended to be that type of a game. We expect it to be a world experience where you go out there and experience it and build up from there. But yeah.
One of the things too that there was a question about stats and numbers and all this about disclosing it. By and large, a lot of that, we understand players that are into that will figure that out on their own. We do not intend to give you all that from the get-go. I think that takes away some of the luster and the idea of experimenting with different things, which is what we want you to do. So you will be able to probably eventually figure it out, because I know there will be people that sit there and that's all they do, which is cool if that's your thing, but you're going to have to figure that out.
Okay. Doc Mandu said, is Soldier for Hire profession a pure PvE-oriented profession, or did I totally misread that one? Nope, you didn't misread it. It is PvE-oriented, I guess just in the same way that bounty hunters are PvP-oriented, so to speak. So yeah, it is. It has an element of helping your fellow player to it, for sure.
Let's see. There's a question about is there a cooldown on consumables that's currently being tested. We don't want it to be a potion spam fest, if you will, but we also don't want it to be where you totally nerf the viability of somebody that's making consumables to actually use those in combat or in whatever situation. So we're currently looking at that, and that'll be something that'll be in for testing.
Stupid Prime said, do bases give bonuses other than safe spot on the map for your faction? I think we might have mentioned this before, but there's 7 different types of building that you can call down in these bases. And yes, they all have different bonuses, if you will, for having that building on your base. So we'll do more of an info dump, I guess, as Sonia likes to call them, on the bases, and we'll I'm sure talk about those in depth, but yes.
Let's see. There's a question about durability, that items do have a finite lifespan. You can repair the items, but it does degrade the overall lifespan of the item.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We figure the best items will have about 4 days of durability.
So you really want that masterpiece item.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see here.
Yeah, that's not real.
Yeah, just joking.
But they will degrade.
Yeah, they will degrade, and ultimately, depending on what it is, it'll be a factor of. So if it's armor, it's a factor of overall damage that you're taking is going to degrade the item and eventually whittle away its overall lifespan. So it'll vary based upon what it is, what actually causes the degradation.
And only reason I'm going to point this out was because at the beginning of the chat, you guys all mentioned how rugged we looked. But Stupid Prime said, how long are you guys working each day on average? I want to plead the fifth on that one, but I will just tell you that it's higher than 12 hours and less than 24. How about that? We'll give you a range. Yeah, it feels like 25 most days. But yeah, we're working a lot and I can't say enough about the team. The team's putting in crazy hours over here too. We all eat dinner together, and we're putting in a lot of long hours to make sure the thing comes together well. Sleep's highly overrated, Thorbrand.
Yeah. There's a question about casting interrupt system. For the most part, due to the mechanic, we didn't want to, and plus we're not using spells. The mechanic for something happening is normally fairly quick. So there are some things that take a while to take place, whether it be an effect or something. So there's possibilities to interrupt those, but a lot of what you'll see, we do have characters in there that can be tested now that have stuns and things like that, that you can perceive the effect of what it does. And largely the feedback that comes from that testing will let us know, okay, do we have too many, not enough, is it too long, what's the impact? But we don't have any spells per se. They're going to have such a long cast time that you would be able to interrupt, because most of it is instantaneous.
And Alex931 said, will there be any vendors when you capture a base to repair equipment and to buy potions, etc.? And no, there aren't any vendors in there. That's way too obvious, Alex. But at the same time, each base has things that do benefit your faction. We didn't want to make it like totally impossible to where you buffed your stats and everything was ridiculous when you got bases. You're still your normal mortal player, so to speak. You have your stats and your armor and things like that. The bases do very strategic things for your faction, but there aren't stat buffing units. Now, I won't say that won't change, and I would like to open it, since we have an open forum here, we're nearing the end. I would like to kind of throw it out there. The thing we've been toying around with is, do we put in like extra NPC protectors for the bases to assist you, or do we? Right now, we don't have that. Some people have mentioned they like that mechanic. I know in other games, that they actually, when you created a base, you'd have other protectors that would join your faction. What do you guys say about that? Do you think right now we don't have it? John and I are tending to say no, just let the faction protect it. If everyone logs off and is too tired for the night, your base is sitting there with the turrets only, you know.
And basically, again, we want you to own this. So if you are out there with your guild, that eventually, and that was the nice thing we mentioned a couple blogs ago about alliances, is that if you do have alliances, you do build your own community, the likelihood that you'll be able to control an area for a longer period of time is great. Whereas if you don't have that, then you're going to lose it. And the idea of just dumping PvE content into a PvP area just to equalize some things is a factor that we didn't really want to get into. But if it's something that you guys are clamoring for, then we'd probably look at it. But our initial inclination is not toward that.
Yeah, the same inclination to not put vendors in there as well. But you know, but we're reading the forums. I'm sure you guys see us on there. We have a lot of the developers like to look in there as well and see what you guys are saying. So we take it all pretty seriously. So start up a thread and have Sonia whisk it away to the appropriate channel.
And one thing I will say, if you guys can keep the thoughts, or especially for the testers, since we have this as a forum, the feedback's been awesome. If you can continue to give us concise feedback of what you're experiencing or what the issues are, we're taking a look at it. Again, we even have people that gave us feedback yesterday that we're already adjusting some of the things this morning. So we want to be fairly responsive. We've tried to do that. That's our biggest, I guess, mantra, if you will, that we're adaptive. So in looking at that, just keep the feedback coming so we can understand what you're saying and it's actionable so we can reproduce it.
Good. And whoa. Nice, Sonia, nice. Okay, good. So any last words, you guys? We're about wrapping it up here.
There's some questions about grouping. Can a small group beat a Zerg? You know, by and large, you'd have to be pretty adept. When you say Zerg, I'm thinking enormous. But you know, I wouldn't say that it couldn't be done. You just have to be awfully organized and know how to play your characters fairly well. So.
And Pedro asked lifetime subs. We're not currently planning that at this time, Pedro. There's you know, we won't rule it out, but I mean, if you started a thread and convinced us, but we're kind of mulled that over, and we don't really like that. So, all right, guys. Well, we're having a blast. You know, we're working long hours, but we're gonna be ramping it up here pretty soon. And we appreciate you guys all taking the time to join this chat. We really appreciate it, and all the stuff that you guys do to give us feedback and test the game is remarkable. So thanks again, and we'll see you same time next week, guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.